Mind mechanics. Let's consider how the mind works to generate behaviours. Most people, when they're thinking about creating behaviours, focus on a part of the mind we all know really well. We know it well because managers say things like, "I need you to be more safety conscious." The challenge with using the conscious mind to create improved behaviours is it is limited in its capacity. Whilst it is great at judgment and logic and deduction, its actual capacity to juggle balls, to deal with lots of problems, is very limited. It can only deal with around 8 chunks of data at any one time. The conscious mind is like a spotlight shining out on the outside world through our senses. It notices what we perceive to be important, but everything else that's around that is literally in the dark. And then something else takes your attention. It's like your spotlight swings to focus on the new and important information, and whatever was lit before just fades into the background. Now, the conscious mind can create behaviours. We call these behaviours forced behaviour. A great example of a forced behaviour is when you're driving your car, minding your own business, and you look in the rearview mirror and you see a police car. What happens to your driving? You instantly drive like a spanner. Now you're driving the car with the conscious mind. You start to drive erratically. You start to overwatch your speedo. And sooner or later the policeman will think you're driving a little strange and pull you over. The question you have to ask is, who influenced your behaviours? Was it the observer, the policeman, or yourself? The challenge this presents is when we watch people work in a negative focused environment, we often create forced, untrue, and often more unsafe behaviours. Now, the conscious mind receives incoming information through the senses, and it passes this information on to another part of the mind we'll look at later called the subconscious. What is interesting about the dialogue that happens between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is the fact that certain words don't seem to work. A great example of this is if I say to you, don't think about the pressure of your bum on the seat, or don't think about the colour of your front door. What happens? You think about it. Now, it's not because people are stupid that they think things they shouldn't. It's because the subconscious mind cannot process negation. Don't becomes do. How many of us say silly things to ourselves and our children? Like, don't touch the plate, it's hot. Yet we instantly reach out and touch it. Or worse, don't look behind you, but there's so-and-so. Or we say things to the kids like, don't touch that, don't do this, don't go out and play on the road. It's as if we put inside the person's head exactly the action we don't want. And that is simply because the subconscious mind cannot imagine a non-event. It has to imagine what you're thinking about first before your conscious mind says, stupid, you're not supposed to be thinking that. Now, because we imagine it, the subconscious mind, which is the creator of all of our behaviours, instantly says, aha, that's what you want, I'll help you achieve that. It's like looking at that nail when you're building a shed and saying to yourself, don't hit your thumb. Without even thinking, your nail on your thumb gets the hammer instead. And you say to yourself, I knew I was going to do that. Well, of course you did. You were thinking it 2 seconds earlier. The subconscious mind receives incoming information from the conscious mind. What is interesting about what it receives is it receives our version of what actually happened, not what really happened. And this presents us with an interesting challenge. Our subconscious mind creates, through a lifetime of experiences, our personal picture of reality. And our picture of reality is a limitless box of experiences. that have all been deleted, generalized, distorted, filtered by our unconscious processes to make them fit what we think is important. So our personal picture of reality is not made up of what actually happened, it's made up of what we thought happened. So our picture of reality contains all of our life's experiences, and it creates the blueprint for how we will be as a human being. Now it fires information to the creative subconscious. The creative subconscious has a massive capacity for creating behaviours. It is estimated it can deliver around 26,000 simultaneous actions all at the same time, whether it's from regulating the temperature in your body, controlling your breathing, or making you do the things you do without thinking, like walking, talking, driving your car. It creates for us our natural behaviours. Now, our natural behaviours are created by the creative subconscious based on a really important rule. The rule is maintenance of sanity. We always act in accordance with what we believe to be true. Whether it's right or wrong, it's completely irrelevant. If our picture reality holds a particular belief, our natural behaviours will be in accordance with that belief, even if it is factually incorrect. So let's have a look at the power of our creative subconscious, which clearly contains some erroneous rules. Probably the best and most well-known example of this is the placebo effect. When we give somebody a painkiller to take for an ache or a pain or a headache, they receive pain relief from this magic pill, sometimes within 15 or 20 minutes having taken the tablet. Yet, they can take 30 to 40 minutes to digest in our stomach and get into our bloodstreams and even add any beneficial value to the body. Yet most sufferers of pain claim they get pain relief very quickly. Some other great examples of the placebo effect are the magic sponge for five-a-side football, and finally, and most importantly of all, the power of a mother's kiss. Part of the job of the creative subconscious is not only to make natural behaviours, but also incorporates the feedback loop of feelings and emotions. When we think a thought, we create a behaviour, but also the chemistry which makes us feel a certain way. Happy or sad, excited or calm, we get them all from the chemistry that's created by the way we think. The challenge for us in business is not that we don't understand what makes people tick, it's we don't understand the true consequences of helping people think a different way. Consider what happens when somebody gets promoted beyond their capabilities. They're made a new supervisor and they don't think they've got what it takes. They turn up at work logically, consciously, then they clock in every day. They've got bills to pay and a family to feed. The challenge is, whilst their subconscious mind thinks, what am I doing here? I haven't got what it takes to do this job. They are consistently putting themselves in a situation where their natural behaviours are in conflict with their forced, logical, conscious behaviours. They're getting stressed. And if they consistently tell themselves they haven't got what it takes, their dominant negative thoughts create the chemistry which makes them feel stressed and then distressed. Stress is a great byproduct of forcing ourselves to do new and improved things, but if it's consistent and long term, it quickly becomes distress. This helps us come to terms with one of the most challenging behaviours to deal with in the workplace, and that is the behaviours driven by mental health and well-being. But as you'll see from the drawings and the explanations we've been through, you can start to realise that stress and mental well-being is an internal game. Saying to somebody, man up, put a smile on your face, just makes it worse, because their conscious mind hears the incoming information, says, I'm trying my best. Yet the subconscious mind says, I'm just trying to get you out of this situation because you're in fight or flight mode. You're forcing yourself to behave against what you believe to be true. The final part of our mind mechanics is understanding the power of imagination. Whilst incoming sensory information is filtered and fed into the subconscious mind, it is often flawed in its version of experience. What is great about the way the mind works is we can imagine whatever we like, however we wanted it to be, and however successful we choose it to be. The power of positive imagination in creating a new and improved picture reality is without doubt unquestionable. The challenge, I guess, is how often do we take charge of our dominant thoughts? Winston Churchill said, "I've been through some pretty horrendous things in my life, and some of them have actually happened." I guess what he meant was he had to imagine repeatedly, over and over again, what might happen, what might go wrong, as well as what might go right. Our picture of reality does not know the difference between a vividly imagined event and what actually happened. We can imagine success or failure as often as we like, even though we only get to play the game once. See, imagining success is like a train on rails. If we don't give it a destination, who knows where it will go? But by repeatedly imagining success, it's like we put a destination at the end of the tracks. Our subconscious mind is like a train on rails. Now it knows its destination, it will help us get there. So our final thought on the mind mechanics is this. Imagine what it would be like if we could get zero harm. You can make a difference inside the picture of reality of every single person in our business. They wouldn't have to try really hard to improve. It would become a natural way of being. They'd make the little choices which help every single person in the business just get that little bit better. And if every single person gets a little bit better, our business gets a whole lot better. The mind mechanics model has helped us understand that influencing people's pictures of reality is the key to high-performing teams.